Argentina beat Colombia 1-0 in extra time. Two substitutes combined on the goal. Lo Celso assisting Lautaro Martínez, who got his 5th of the tournament. He wins the Golden Boot. Hands Argentina their 2nd straight Copa America title, their 16th overall. But we should talk about all the craziness beforehand. This match kicked off 82 minutes after it was initially scheduled to begin because there was all sorts of crowd trouble. Apparently fans without tickets forced their way into the stadium. And so the stadium was locked down at one point, then it was opened up again, but lengthy delay. What did you make of the whole thing?
What a complete and utter shit show. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, and look, we can assign blame and we can make it very, very clear as to who's to blame because everyone's saying, oh, you know, why isn't the U.S. doing this? Why isn't it doing that? This is a CONMEBOL event, okay? And so if you have a problem with the organization, go talk to CONMEBOL. But that doesn't change the fact that it happened on our watch. It happened in our own country. And therefore, the perception of the United States was damaged because of this. And, you know, this is also coming off of the situation in Charlotte where the Uruguay and Colombia game, Uruguay fans and families, you know, there was a safety issue there and they felt like they were being attacked. And at times the cameras showed that there was a back and forth, players going in the stands and that kind of stuff. Listen, I want to make it very, very clear here, okay? This, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mosse, this Hard Rock Stadium down there in Miami, right? That's
correct.
What it's called. This is not a new stadium.
No.
This is a stadium that's been around and held events, including, if I'm not mistaken, a Super Bowl.
Absolutely.
And other big concerts and big sporting events, right?
Yep.
So this is certainly not their first rodeo. If you are a fan without a ticket and you break into the stadium, you're to blame. If you are a fan with a ticket and you break into the stadium, you are to blame. If you are an organizer and the fans who bought your tickets can't safely and efficiently get into the venue, you're to blame. This is unacceptable. All right? And I understand why, you know, people are screaming and yelling out there. But we've all been to big events. And I've been to Super Bowls, and there are perimeters and multiple perimeters for this specific reason. And obviously, it was a combination of people there that didn't have tickets and the inability to get people in. And then when you say nobody else is coming in, which might be the right call from a safety perspective, may or may not be right call, everybody's going to flip out, especially those that have tickets, especially those that paid thousands and thousands of dollars for tickets. And then you get people breaking the law. Then you get people coming in and rushing in. And tonight, I hope people got out safely. I'm praying that people got out safely and that there weren't any problems on the exodus. Because all those people that got in and broke the law and got in illegally, they weren't wanted. There was no security check going forward. So fingers crossed that it's okay. But it was not a good look for the U.S. It was certainly not a good look for CONMEBOL, and less than 2 years away from the summer, and a very, very important summer. It's certainly not something that we wanted to say. Having said all of that, I think FIFA, which organizes and will organize the 2026 World Cup, will have it buttoned down. We, as the United States, we have organized and hosted multiple World Cups. By the way, seminal World Cups, incredibly successful World Cups when it comes to the sheer number of people and the business that it has generated without security problems in the past. And this was obviously a blight on the American soccer landscape, regardless of how little we had in terms of the responsibility.
I don't know if you recall, but several weeks ago, my What Are We Watching submission was a Netflix documentary that was done on the Euro 2020 final at Wembley between England and Italy, where we had similar problems, fans without tickets forcing their way into the stadium. So don't let anybody tell you that this could only happen with South American fans in the United States and all the rest, because this happened over there as well.
But we've had, in this tournament, stadiums that are 50, 60, 70,000 people. And we haven't had this type of problem. So this was specific to this event and to this venue, okay? And again, I hope that people are okay. I mean, there's pictures of people climbing the fence. There are pictures of people rushing in. There's pictures of security guards tackling people. There's pictures of people in the AC vents, for God's sake. So this is insane. And again, you are not entitled to free soccer, regardless of who you are. So if you're breaking the law. Now, that they let people in, I think, was a function of safety. And there came a point where they didn't want anybody to be trampled. They wanted to make sure that at the very least people were safe to move. And I get that, but that ultimately is the resort that they took because they were not organized and they didn't have the perimeters on the outside.
Now, before we get to the game, one more item we have to discuss. Before we started taping, I saw you holding court with Kat and others. You have a lot of thoughts on the Shakira halftime performance.
Yes. So before we get to the game, the Shakira halftime performance, I don't know a tremendous amount about this Shakira character, okay? I have heard of her over the years. I have seen her. Her hips don't lie, I'm told. And she was married to PK.
Correct.
Great center back. Was married, right? Then they had some problems and they've split up and everything, but they were a longtime power couple.
I believe he strayed.
He may have strayed. So I have nothing against Shakira. She seems to be a big star, and I remember her from the theme for the World Cup a couple cycles ago. The actual performance, I didn't think it was anything historic in that it will be remembered. It was okay. A couple things were a little strange for me. One, she came out alone, and it was almost as if everyone was looking around saying, well, where the hell are the backup dancers? And I didn't even know if she was supposed to, but it begged for backup dancers, and she was solo, kind of dancing around, and it just didn't look normal. Eventually, the backup dancers came out because we were saying, hey, maybe they only paid for Shakira, and you got to pay an extra, I don't know how many $100,000 for the extra backup dancers. But eventually, they came out. So that was a little weird when she's dancing around. I didn't mind the mirror dress she was wearing, skirt. I thought that was kind of cool and disco-y and stuff like that. My big problem, I don't know who does their lighting. I don't know who the production team was, but somebody needs to get fired, okay? Because the lighting, if you watched this, the lighting on her legs, and she might have been even wearing some sort of fishnet thing, very fine fishnet thing, but whatever the lighting was on the legs made it cast these shadows that made it look like she had fish scales. And even worse, at times it made it look cellulite-esque, and nobody wants that. No man or woman wants that when you're performing. And so I think they did her dirty. I think this was a bad decision and an unnecessary type of decision. Some things you can't control, whatever, the audio and stuff like that. But this lighting they could have controlled. They could have figured it out and gotten rid of it, and they didn't. And in doing so, I think they did a disservice to what I think is a very talented artist. The actual songs, they're okay. It's no Prince or anything, no Super Bowl Prince or anything like that. So you?
Do you think she stuck around for the second half and the extra time, or she was out of there by the 50th minute?
I think that she was gone. So
now, as to the match itself, Colombia was the better team in the first half, but Argentina grew into the game and I thought was clearly better in the second half and the extra time. Lionel Messi came off in the 65th minute with an ankle injury. We saw the ankle when he was on the bench. It looked incredibly swollen. Yep. He was in tears. I can't imagine how Fran Arthur was coping at that moment. What were your thoughts when you saw Messi coming off?
I mean, it's sad because I want to see Messi just like everybody else. But in a strange way, it put an exclamation point on this Argentina team, which we know is not the prettiest. Part of what makes this team great, I think, is their ability to be flexible, their ability to adjust to the situation. And that situation could be relative to the opponent. It could be relative to the weather. It could be relative to the field, whatever. They adjust to it in order to get the job done. And this particular team has now done it without Messi. Because let's be honest, Messi was not a factor this tournament. And he certainly wasn't a factor today. And even when he left the field, as much as we gasped that Messi was leaving the field, didn't change the equation. And as a matter of fact, the substitutes that came on ultimately did what they needed to do. So I think that this, in a very, very strange way, is affirming to this group going forward. And look, I'm not saying that Messi can't help this team and isn't going to be a part of this team over the next couple of years. But I think it was important for them to do it without Messi. And Messi, I think, would be the first person that And we saw it after the game, how important it was to him and how much he enjoyed celebrating, even though, let's be honest, he had very little to do with this.
This reminded me a little bit of the Euro 2016 final, Portugal-France. Now, Messi came off much later in the game than Ronaldo did that day, but Ronaldo came off injured. Portugal ended up winning 1-0 in extra time. Eder scored the goal against France that day, and Lautaro gets the goal here. And, you know, Di Maria, this was it for him. This was the drop the mic moment. It's going to be interesting to see with Messi. This could cut both ways. This tournament might have been an indicator that physically maybe he can't handle the grind of club and country anymore. Maybe he walks away. Or the way it played out, maybe he doesn't want to go out this way. He does want to play in the World Cup so he can maybe have a better ending than crying on the bench.
Yeah, and if and when he becomes a burden to this team, and I don't think he is, but if and when he does, in the way that kind of Cristiano has, because certainly Messi has as much cachet as Cristiano, I think that would be problematic. I don't necessarily see him doing it. I see him kind of checking out before that. But, you know, again, it's only 2 years away. And if his body heals and he feels good, I mean, this is a cocoon and a warm cocoon, obviously, Argentina. And you would have thought with Di Maria saying that this was it, if Messi felt the same way, it would be kind of logical for both of them to do it. Speaking of Di Maria, wonderful way to kind of ride off into the sunset and yet another title. Not everybody gets to do that. And he has been, as I said on air, you know, the Robin to Messi's Batman for a number of years. I mean, they go back to the 2008 Olympics where they won gold, and they've kind of been with each other, and he has taken some of the pressure at times off and certainly been a wonderful second man to have when Messi has been starring over the years. So I'm happy for him. Just seems like a wonderful player, certainly, but also just a kind gentleman.
And the Lautaro Martínez, Julian Alvarez dynamic is going to be fascinating to see moving forward. Now, I mentioned Lautaro scored 5 goals, won the Golden Boot, and Argentina were champions, and yet James Rodriguez still was chosen the best player in the tournament. Did you have any issue with that?
No issue at all. I thought that James was the best player in the tournament.
You know, I was thinking about this as we got into extra time and how much Emi Martinez changes the equation. Now, I don't know if Colombia had enough energy to mount any sort of attack in that extra time, but to me, if you're in an extra time with Argentina, you almost have to think that you have to
finish it now.
Yeah, because it's almost like an 80% certainty you're going to lose if you go to penalties. And so that was in the back of my mind as it got into the extra time.
Yeah. I mean, because you're looking over there saying, oh, it's all fine and well, but it's no longer what a lot of people feel is a 50-50 type of equation here, because you have, and what I think is one of the great goalkeepers, especially when it comes to the international game, who just gets in your mind. And, you know, it ultimately didn't happen. Lautaro Martínez came on and did what he has done time and time again. And then you start seeing the emotion, and then you start seeing the tears. And let's kiss off Colombia, because I do think that they are heading in the right direction. I think they were a wonderful team to watch, with or without James going forward. Certainly he has become a part of this team going forward, but even without that, this is a team for the future. I think that this is a team that is going to qualify comfortably when it comes to the 26 World Cup, and a team that I will look forward to watching come the 26 World Cup.
And it's amazing. They had a 28-match unbeaten run. Their last defeat prior to tonight was 1-0 to Argentina, with Lautaro Martínez scoring the goal in February 2022, and they lose tonight 1-0 to Argentina, Lautaro Martínez scoring the goal.
Amazing. But you're still bullish about them.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.